Hello, glad you can join us. Here's what we have for you this Wednesday, the Liberal vision for Canada's financial future.
We have to make major investments in our economic capacity.
Mark Carney's prime time spending preview.
And what we're sort of willing to tolerate when it comes to working conditions.
Crisis in nursing, the growing exit of new recruits.
There was a discharge of a firearm at the man.
Plus deadly twists and turns in a fatal confrontation with police.
CTV National News with Sandy Ronaldo.
A big day for Mark Carney with a primetime speech about the economy, and there is a lot at stake. The Prime Minister met with the leaders of the Bloc and Conservative parties. He's doing the dance with the budget less than 2 weeks away. CTV's senior political correspondent Mike Couture sets the scene for us. Hey, Mike.
How you doing, Sandy? Pierre Poilievre did finish his 30-minute meeting with Prime Minister Mark Carney and said it was a good back and forth. He also didn't rule out supporting the Liberal budget if that party meets his demands. And tonight, Carney is making his pitch to the people of this country.
What is the message you hope to convey to Canadians tonight with your address?
The message will be conveyed in the address. But
the Prime Minister was tight-lipped ahead of his evening speech, which is being given to students who are entering the workforce at a moment of rupture in our history.
We have to make major investments in our economic capacity and our trade capacity. And I haven't seen the speech, but I'm sure he'll be talking about some of those things.
CTV News has learned the speech will focus on 4 themes: diversifying trade partners away from the U.S., a new talent and immigration plan to fill the workforce's needs, climate, and the core principle of the budget, to spend less and invest more. After an early morning meeting with the Prime Minister, the leader of the Bloc Québécois said his MPs will support the budget if some key demands are met, including increasing health transfers to the provinces by more than $11 billion.
It's their responsibility and only theirs to find somebody to vote with them. They know our conditions, and if they wake up a little bit late, it's once again their problem.
Ahead of his meeting with the Prime Minister, the Conservative leader was open to collaboration.
if he takes my suggestions of bringing down the deficit to the level the Liberal government promised, of getting rid of the hidden taxes on food, well, then let's have a look at it.
Now, if the Liberals can't get opposition support from November's budget, the government would fall and there would be a second election in just the space of 7 months. But multiple MPs say that Canadians aren't in the mood for that. Sandy?
Okay, thank you, Mike. Let's pick up on that with CTV's chief political correspondent, Vashi Kapelas. Okay, you know, Vashi, the idea of an election, as we heard in Mike's piece, certainly won't go down well with voters. So what is the likelihood of that happening?
Well, I hesitate, Sandy, to put any specific number on it, A, because I've been wrong many times, but B, because in a minority parliament, and I know it may not feel like one every day, but it is one, I think it is prudent to be prepared for anything and to realize, based on history, that anything can happen. So while I think today, as Mike pointed out, there was a real downplaying of the possibility of an election, one certainly does exist just by virtue of it being a minority parliament.
Okay, and given that scenario, Mark Carney's been dancing the dance with the opposition, and we heard a bit of what he would need to do to satisfy them. Is that going to be enough?
I mean, I find it hard to believe that it will be, because if you look in particular at the 2 most sizable opposition parties in the Bloc and the Conservatives, they have laid out very, very specific demands on either end of the spectrum, spending or revenue, that seem physically impossible given the current state of the government's books and what the Prime Minister has said so far for the government to actually meet. So I don't think there's any way he'll go, check, 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 I'm meeting all your demands, which kind of throws our vision or our focus over to the NDP, who has not ruled out supporting this budget and has been a little bit more concealing in what it necessarily wants the government to do, so leaving open the possibility of support still, Sandy.
Okay, Vashi, thank you so much. Well, Mark Carney hasn't yet outlined how he plans to fight Donald Trump's tariffs, but today, more signs that they are causing pain. A Quebec union says that PACCAR, a truck assembly plant, is laying off 300 people just days after the U.S. imposed 25% tariffs on the import of medium and heavy-duty vehicles. CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Beauchemin joins us from the plant. And Jen, what's been the reaction there?
Well, Sandy, the union here at PACCAR says the 300 workers just laid off are the latest victims in the tariff war raging between Canada and the United States. PACCAR assembles Kenworth and Peterbilt trucks, and this wave of layoffs here comes days after the U.S. imposed a 25% tariff on medium and heavy-duty trucks. There have been earlier rounds of cuts here, and for workers leaving at the end of their shifts today, this was a difficult day.
Oh, it's very heavy. I mean, yeah, it's very heavy. Like, it's the second time since not that long.
PACCAR is based in Seattle, and the company declined to comment today. But the union says PACCAR is refocusing on making trucks for the Canadian market, though it's much smaller. And while a year ago, 92 trucks rolled off the assembly line here a day, that number is now down to 18, sparking concern as to the very survival of the company here.
Ça fait excessivement mal comme nouvelle ce matin.
The union is urging all levels of government to do their part and buy Canadian, become clients, and buy the trucks that are made here. For the city of Sainte-Thérèse, this is a big blow. This is the only major plant on its territory. And along with the hundreds of well-paying jobs that were lost today, there's hundreds more on the line connected to the plant. All levels of government expressed their disappointments today. Sandy.
Okay, CTV Geneviève Beauchemin. Thousands of dollars worth of American alcohol has gone down the drain in Manitoba. More than $26,000 worth of expired wines and liqueurs were thrown out. The province pulled the products from shelves in February in retaliation for U.S. tariffs. Manitoba says it is the cost of doing business in the Trump era. Well, a red light warning as Canada experiences a crisis in care, a massive exodus of nurses under the age of 35, with veteran nurses also leaving the job and not being replaced. CTV's Alison Bamford on why there's such a struggle to keep nurses in the profession. Alison.
Well, Sandy, the simple answer is burnout. We've heard examples of emergency department overcrowding, patients being treated in hallways, staffing issues, and concerns with patient safety. And it's conditions like those inside the hospital behind me that have nurses begging for help. This month, 450 Saskatchewan healthcare professionals signed a letter addressed to the province's health minister asking for improvement in those areas, saying the pressures placed on nurses are unsustainable.
They enter this profession with the thought of providing care to the people of Saskatchewan and wanting to do their best. And now they're being put in a hallway where they don't have access to any of the tools or resources they would normally have, and being told to provide that same quality of care.
These are issues plaguing most of the country. A recent survey shows it's becoming common for nurses to work involuntary overtime, experience violence on the job, and suffer from anxiety or burnout. A new report from the Montreal Economic Institute shows Canadian nursing job vacancies tripled between 2018 and 2023. And for every 100 nurses under the age of 35 who entered the profession, 40 others quit. Now, British Columbia appears to be an outlier. That province cut its turnover rate of young nurses in half over the last decade, according to the MEI report. They've introduced shift swapping protocols, nurse-patient ratios, and a streamlined process for applications that experts say should be emulated across the country.
Interesting.
Sandy?
Okay, CTV's Alison Bamford. Thank you, Alison. A Canadian cryptocurrency exchange has been slapped with a fine of almost $177 million. It is the largest ever penalty from Canada's Financial Intelligence Agency. A BC incorporated business that operates under the name Cryptomus was hit with a massive fine for failing to flag more than 1,000 transactions involving dark net markets with suspected links to criminal activity. Some of the violations are alleged to be connected to child exploitation, fraud, and ransomware payments. Well, Ontario civilian police watchdog is investigating a shooting by an officer after an Amber Alert for a 1-year-old triggered a search and confrontation. CTV Scott Hurst now on a story that started with an incident of domestic violence.
This is where an overnight manhunt for an Amber Alert suspect ended in a deadly confrontation with police.
There was an interaction involving the man and the officers, and then there was a discharge of a firearm at the man. The man was struck multiple times.
The man was pronounced dead on scene outside this gas station in Niagara Falls, Ontario. Police in the region following up on tips on the whereabouts of 38-year-old Anthony DeShepe, the subject of an Amber Alert the day before in Brampton, more than 100 kilometers away.
The child subject of that Amber Alert was found safe in Niagara. However, the male subject of the Amber Alert was still outstanding.
The Amber Alert first went out Tuesday afternoon. A 29-year-old woman was fatally shot in this commercial plaza, allegedly by DeShepe, who then, according to police, took off with his 1-year-old child in the back seat. Investigators described the homicide as an intimate partner-related incident. The shooting in a busy plaza in broad daylight, leaving many people shaken.
I was walking in the store and I heard gunshots.
I actually was in the store. I just heard a little bit of gunshots and it was very quick, probably 2 to 3.
CTV News has confirmed the woman's identity through family as Savannah Kula, a mother of 4 young children. The victim's mother and the rest of the family are now trying to support each other through this terrible tragedy.
I'm a nightmare. I'm a mess, but right now I'm just trying to hold it together. You know, I have 2 other kids and and I have 8 grandkids.
No officers were injured in the confrontation that led to the death of the Amber Alert suspect. Ontario's Special Investigations Unit is now looking into the incident, as it does every time police are involved in a shooting. In this case, it is an investigation overall that spans multiple crime scenes and police jurisdictions. Sandy?
Okay, CTV Scott Hurst. A Manitoba family is advocating for reform to the crime bill after learning the driver involved in a crash that killed their daughter was out on bail. Now, Ottawa will introduce legislation tomorrow that promises to crack down on repeat offenders. CTV's Alex Carpa with a first-person account of the human cost of crime.
28-year-old Kelly Verway was killed in a car crash in January.
It was every parent's worst nightmare.
The driver of the other vehicle now faces charges including impaired driving causing death. At the time of the collision, he had a warrant out for his arrest for breaching bail conditions.
It was not an accident. It was an incident, and it caused my daughter to lose her life.
Michelle Best has been calling for changes to the bail system since Kelly was killed and is taking her concerns to Ottawa next week. Kelly's uncle Darren McDonald says the discussions around bail reform have been dragging because of a lack of political will.
There are very minimal consequences. That seems to be the message that we're sending.
Prime Minister Mark Carney announced that his government will make bail harder to get. That legislation is being tabled tomorrow. Part of that bill introduces reverse onus bail for major crimes, which requires the accused to prove why they should be released while waiting for trial, rather than the current system where the prosecution having to prove why the accused should remain in custody.
The fact that our police services are rearresting the same individuals time and time again, many of whom are out on bail and breaching their court orders. And every time that happens, especially with violent offenders, we put our frontline service members at risk.
Best wants politicians to know the human cost of repeat offenders being released.
The cost to our family, where her fiance doesn't have his wife and he doesn't start his family.
Best says she will continue to advocate for bail reform to prevent other parents from going through the same tragedy she did. Sandy.
CTV's Alex Carpa. Coming up, the ongoing mystery of a major museum heist, plus putting a price on the stolen jewelry. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance met with Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu today to discuss the preservation of the fragile Gaza ceasefire.
It's not easy. I never said it was easy. But what I am is optimistic that the ceasefire is going to hold and that we can actually build a better future in the entire Middle East.
Vance suggested an international security force could maintain peace in Gaza. However, before the meeting, Netanyahu said that Israel is not an American protectorate and his country would have final say over the issue of security. Now, security for Ukraine is at stake as Russia ramped up strikes overnight, just hours after a summit was called off between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbon on promises made, now broken. Joy.
Sandy, after months of threatening to punish Vladimir Putin, President Donald Trump said he would be imposing new sanctions hitting Russia's two largest oil producers that fund Russia's war machine, and he called for an immediate ceasefire. Overnight, punishing Russian drone and missile strikes across Ukraine. Parents grabbing their children from a Kharkiv kindergarten after it was hit. Children among the injured. And a major assault on residential areas in the capital, Kyiv, killed 6 people, including 2 children. This is their peace, this student says. And a peace an increasingly frustrated President Donald Trump can't seem to solve, claiming his friendship with Russia's Vladimir Putin gives him leverage, but shelving their summit in Hungary.
I don't want to have a wasted meeting. I don't want to have a wasted time.
Ukraine's president said Russia's attacks overnight proved Moscow hasn't been pressured enough to end the war. President Zelensky agreeing in part to Trump's proposal that a ceasefire begin now where the battle lines are.
You saw messages, public messages from Trump. He proposed stay where we stay and begin conversation. I think that was good compromise, but I'm not sure that Putin will support it, and I said it to the president.
After a tense meeting last week in Washington, Trump backed off selling President Zelensky long-range Tomahawk missiles, and Trump still hasn't followed through on his threat to hit Moscow with more sanctions.
I have total confidence in President Trump, and he is the only one who can get this done. He is the leader of the most powerful nation on earth.
NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, often called the Trump whisperer, flew to Washington to try to get the president back on board. After brokering peace between Gaza and Israel, the president is finding the war in Ukraine that he said he could end in 24 hours is proving elusive. Sandy?
Okay, Joy, thank you. Whodunit is still elusive 3 days after a major jewelry heist at the Louvre. Today, the world-renowned Paris Museum reopened to tourists.
Quite relieved, actually, that we can go. Yes.
Yeah, I think it'll be nice to see the Mona Lisa.
Lots of people around today, just as there were Sunday morning when hooded thieves broke into a second-floor window and made off with royal diamonds and gems. Today, the Paris prosecutor valued the stolen goods at an estimated $143 million Canadian. A sign that early screening for breast cancer works. Something that many provinces have now signed up for. Younger women aged 40 and older are having mammograms, and doctors say the diagnostic tool is helping to catch the disease early. CTV's Sarah Plowman reports.
At 34, Alicia Bryan noticed a lump in her breast.
And I sat on it for a long time, hoping that it would go away.
That lump didn't leave. A mammogram and biopsy revealed what she had feared.
It came back with a positive diagnosis for cancer, for stage 3 breast cancer in my right breast.
Surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation followed. For 3 years, she's been in remission. As more provinces open up routine breast cancer screening to women in their 40s, she's urging people to go.
Go and do the test. Go and do it scared. Get it out of the way.
At what age routine screening should start has been hotly debated. Current Canadian guidelines recommend 50, but many provinces, including Ontario, have dropped the age to 40. Since Ontario's program expanded last October, about 184,000 women in their 40s have been screened. That's about 18% of women in that age group.
Usually in a screening program, we aim for 70% of women being screened, but we have not achieved that yet, especially for the women 40 to 49, because there has been a lot of controversy about the guidelines.
At the Ottawa hospital, women in their 40s are now getting screened in similar numbers as those in their 50s and 60s.
This really indicated that there was a pent-up demand, and I am diagnosing cancer, early breast cancer, in these young women.
Bryan is thankful her cancer was found, removed, and treated.
It's the putting it off and not getting screened is where it becomes dangerous.
A message she hopes is heard. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Fredericton.
After the break, sizing up the contenders. The October classic, Tale of the Tape.
How tall are you? 7 feet.
A towering presence stood out on the ice in Brantford, Ontario this week. Listed at 2.1 meters tall and 278 pounds, 17-year-old Alexander Karmenov, born in Moldova, plays for the Brantford Bulldogs of the Ontario Hockey League and is considered the tallest active player in the world. Now, finding the proper equipment has proven challenging, forcing Karmenov to use a custom jersey and extended sticks. Well, the Blue Jays are standing tall after advancing to the World Series, and Friday can't come soon enough. That's, of course, when the team takes on the defending champion, LA Dodgers. We asked CTV's senior correspondent, Heather Wright, to give us a measure of how the teams match up. Hi, Heather.
Well, Sandy, this is the line here at the Jays shop outside of the Rogers Center. Fans getting ready for the World Series. The Blue Jays, of course, looking for their first championship since 1993. The Dodgers trying for a repeat.
Tinseltown versus Hogtown. Hollywood versus, well, Hollywood North. The World Series heads to Toronto this week. 2 teams, 2 cities, but only 1 champion.
Nervous. A little bit of an upset tummy, but I think we can do it.
I think the Blue Jays have more spirit. They play like the team is even all the way down from 1 to 9, and they play like a team.
As they were at the start of the season, the Dodgers are the betting favorites to win their second World Series title in as many years.
She's gone!
Well, the Blue Jays have gone from worst to first, finishing dead last in the American League in 2024 to winning it all this year.
I think that it's anybody's game, and I think the Jays are the underdogs, and the underdogs always come out.
The LA Dodgers have won 8 World Series in their history compared to 2 for the Toronto Blue Jays. And when it comes to payroll, both teams may be big spenders, but LA has doled out far more cash for stars like Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts.
The Dodgers' payroll is closer to $350 million, whereas the Blue Jays is about $250. So $100 million, that's a huge gap, right? That's another Shohei Ohtani or 2, right, that they can afford with that difference.
And while the Dodgers took the season series against the Blue Jays 2-1, the Jays have the better regular season record and have earned home field advantage because of it, which at least one statistician says gives the Jays a slight edge.
When I did a simple statistical model and just tried to put it all together, I'm currently estimating Toronto with a 52.46% chance of winning the World Series.
At the end of the day, though, there is only one number that really matters: 4. 4 wins to win it all. Sandy.
You're here. Okay, Heather, thank you. And thank you for sharing your time with us. I'm Sandy Ronaldo. Your local CTV News is coming up. Bye for now. We'll see you tomorrow, we hope.